Hi everyone, and welcome to Ferrero Career Bites Live. My name is Gaia and I'll be your host for the next hour. Today we're here to talk about something that might feel exciting, but also confusing, sometimes maybe a little intimidating. Starting and building your career. So whether you're a student, maybe an intern, or just graduating, looking for a job, or preparing for a job interview, this session is for you. Today we're going to hear from real Ferrero professionals with different paths, experiences, and also levels of seniority. Some of them have built international careers over several years, while others have started their career journey a bit more recently. And most importantly, today you're going to have the chance to ask your own questions. So start sending them now in the chat. You can ask us anything regarding careers, resumes, interviews, confidence, rejection, whatever it's on your mind. And our team backstage will be monitoring your questions and will bring as many of them as possible into the live conversation. Also, we'd love for you to share this event on social media. And remember to use the hashtag Ferrero Career Bites. We're ready. Let's get started. Let's begin with our first two guests. They've built career across different countries, facing very different business challenges. But did they always know where they were going? Or were there some unexpected turns along the way? Let's find out, but before, let's figure out who they are. Introduce yourself in one sentence.
I'm Kanupriya, an Indian living in Luxembourg. With my husband of 14 years, I'm a lover of everything travel, textiles, and storytelling.
My name is Giovanni, and I spent my last 26 years into industry. In Ferrero since 2011, I am at the moment part of Operation Scenario, and I lead the industrial part with a worldwide perspective, try to turn complexity into opportunities for our company.
What's your role at Ferrero?
I have the privilege of leading consumer and shopper insights for our Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa businesses. Basically, I bring alive the consumer and shopper to the business.
How has your role changed since joining Ferrero?
It's a very interesting journey from manufacturing and industry, being a part of the one that we're building our facility, to be part of the one that are shaping strategies. And this changed the topics, changed the stakeholders, and make the challenge even more interesting.
Oh, it's changed immensely. When I joined 4 years back versus now, the Asia Pacific, Middle East, Africa business has grown exponentially. We've launched new innovations, expanded into new geographies, entered into new channels, and with generative AI, e-commerce coming in, it's just transformed the way we work.
What's a quote or motto that inspires you?
If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you.
You can't change the direction of the wind, but you can adjust the sails. One should always be willing to adapt, to remold themselves, and to learn new things in order to grow and succeed.
Welcome, Kanupriya and Giovanni. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Awesome. So before we get started, I just want to remind you that in a minute, you're going to have the chance to ask your questions to our guests. So please keep sending them in the chat, all right? But in the meantime, I would like to ask you a question. Let's talk about expectations versus reality. When you were at the beginning of your career, what did you imagine your professional path would look like, and what actually went differently? Giovanni, you want to start?
Okay, the journey, it's unpredictable in some way. So, and the level of experiences that Ferrero can give it to you is so huge that plan everything at the beginning is impossible. This is also the beauty of it. In my life, I started building factories, and now I am thinking about what's next, where and how the next one. So all the journey is every time very interesting and unpredictable, and this is the beauty of it.
Fantastic. What about you, Kanupriya?
You know, I am in marketing, Gaia. So when I was starting out and, you're fresh out of college, I thought it's all about strategy and, all marketing campaigns, and it's going to be everything very fancy. It is that, but it's a lot more. Strategy is not born out of thin air. It's about looking at different data points, connecting them, and telling the story. It's about executing it flawlessly, because strategy, which is just on paper, does not mean anything. And it's also about a lot of hard work. It's a lot of networking. It's about learning constantly. So yes, it was what I thought, but it was so much more, and a lot of hard work, but also a lot more rewarding. And it had so many more aspects, and a lot of which Ferrero brought to life for me.
Great. I think we're going to learn more also about your experience thanks to the questions we're going to get from the audience. But I have another question for you.
Please.
So, Giovanni, before moving to the corporate side, you actually worked for many years into manufacturing operations for a long time. So how do you think that the work in manufacturing operations is changing today, and how is it going to change in the coming years?
Yeah, Ferrero is in a constant change. The fact that the company grew up, in a constant way in the last years, mean that the perimeter is always huge. The type of product, the categories of the product, it's expanding all the time. And this in some way changed the complexity or increased the complexity, but this is also the beauty of it, the complexity and the interconnection. On top of it, automation grows up fast. Ferrero can give to you the highest level of automation. And AI also came into this in order to qualify as much as possible and optimize all the process and all the cost of transformation of the product. So the scheme of operation is constantly changing. On one hand, following the market, on the other hand, leading the transformation.
That's very, very interesting, and I hope also we're going to get more questions about this. And Kanuka, something very interesting about your path is that you actually started as an IT developer.
Yes.
And then moved to consumer insights.
Yes.
So what made you take that turn?
You know, IT development was also a lot about analytics, right? Because you analyze. It also requires a lot of curiosity. So in a way, Gaia, if you think about what I was doing then and what I'm doing now, it is all about analytics. It's about being curious. It's about building things, right? But what you're building is different, because I was building program and codes and models over there, and now I'm building brands and I'm building stories and consumer narratives. So it's a very different thing. But I think I wanted to build these, right? Because I, as a child, was very passionate about telling stories. I always wanted to talk to people, ask questions. I wanted to build things. I wanted to see expressions come alive. And I love seeing, all these feature films on television. I love cinema. I love these narratives. So I think at the essence of it, I'm still the analytical person who loves data and connecting dots and building. But I'm doing it in a different space right now. But the crux is the same.
That's a very interesting perspective, right? How we connect the dots somehow. And Giovanni, I have another question for you. What do you think that young people misunderstand when they think about working in something like manufacturing operations?
Okay, I can tell you what I misunderstood when I started my career in Ferrero, okay? Every one of us has some bias that are mainly driven by our experience. So when you enter in a Ferrero factory now or yesterday or even more tomorrow, you cannot imagine what is a production line. You cannot imagine what is a warehouse till you don't touch it, till you do not see it. Because it's not a matter of produce one jar of Nutella, for example, but it's produce a very significant, huge quantity of it in a very cost-effective way, preserving quality and delivery, okay? And to do this, the level of, as I said, automation, but the level of use and activate all the possibility that the market in terms of lines or any kind of skills and equipment that are available in the market is essential to be successful. So don't have the bias to enter in that because manufacturing is not your piece of cake, because you will find an unpredictable, let me say, field of super interesting and high-level technology or whatever.
I know that, thank you, Giovanni, and I know that actually we started getting questions from the audience, so shall we get started?
Yes.
Yes, let's start. Pamela, Well, this is a very interesting question, Pamela, and I'm gonna ask it now to Kanupria. What impact has AI had on your business, let's say on your role maybe, and how do you think AI will shape your business in the future?
That's a very, very interesting question. I think everybody's asking this question right now, and especially the younger generation, right? Because everybody's thinking about what AI will do in the future. Now, I take care of consumer and shopper understanding, right, for APAC MEA. And this means we look at a lot of data. It means we talk to a lot of consumers. It means we develop brands. What does AI do? AI actually is enabling us to do our jobs better. It's in fact become an ally and freeing up a lot of time for us to think and strategize, for us to network and partner, because it takes away the burden of analyzing the data. It takes away sometimes the burden of collecting the data. You know, you hear about synthetic consumers. What does that mean? There are so many consumers who are difficult to reach, who are difficult to talk to. AI can generate those consumers for us. AI can do analytics for us. AI can do analysis of very difficult kinds for us, but AI can also do connecting the dots and storytelling for us. There are a lot of tools which are being developed using AI. AI can also help in the production of brand videos. So there is a lot that AI can do to enable us to do our jobs better, giving us as humans to partner with AI to do our jobs more efficiently and leaving us to think more, because you know AI can never replace us, because it cannot outperform us, it cannot outjudge us, right? And it cannot outthink us. So that's really what the role of AI is in the world of today and will be in future, in my perspective.
Thank you, Kanupria, and of course, we can't make predictions. Who can make predictions? But for sure, like there's a lot going on right now, especially when it comes to consumer insights. It must be a very interesting moment in time to work in consumer insights. We have another question from Tommaso. What was the biggest challenge you encountered in your career, and how did you manage to successfully get over it? That's a real recruiter question, Tommaso. Well done. So, Giovanni, you want to get that one?
Well, looking at my experience, I think that a turning point was my first international assignment. And this gave to me the chance to talk about the soft skill. Because acting in an environment where you have a different culture, so in a different countries, means activate or elevate your capacity to listen and to adapt yourself. Today, the company requires agility that in some way can also be translated in the capacity to reach the deliverables in every kind of environment. And make the same business or make the same factory in a different country is a completely different challenge. So once you understand it, I think that you can receive from this kind of experience more than you give, because what you learn is a sort of a continuous process that makes you also stronger. So definitely experience abroad make you stronger, and it is something that Ferrero can give you easily, considering how huge the perimeter of our operation is today.
Wow, and you are living proof of how you can build an international career. We have another question from Ava. Wow, that's another very good question. What's a decision you made that really shaped your career? You want to take this one, Kanupria?
Why not? My answer is a little similar to Giovanni's. I think it was trusting Ferrero and taking the leap of faith to move from my comfort zone in India and coming to Luxembourg, working in a multicultural, international environment, leading an international team, working I would say in a role which was a significant step up and really giving it my all. But, I put my faith in Ferrero. I was very hesitant to move, but, Ferrero is known to identify, groom, and also guide talent. And they helped me make the move, and they help, I would say they help nourish young and senior talent. And I found the support that I needed to make the transition, and I think that was the defining point and the biggest, I would say, turning point in my career, and the decision that really redefined who I am.
That's a big decision.
It was a huge decision for the family as well. It kind of made me strong and also exposed me to my vulnerabilities at the same time and redefined me as a person. And I'm really just better because of it.
So in case any of you is wondering whether you should try having an experience abroad, I guess Giovanni and Canopria would probably say yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess so. We have one last question from the audience. I mean, we have many questions, but we have time to only ask one more question that we got from the audience. Mariana would like to ask this one. I will ask both of you to reply, but briefly. What qualities, skills, and challenges should a candidate be prepared for when joining Ferrero? So maybe we can just shorten it a bit. Like, what skills should a candidate have when joining Ferrero?
Yeah. From my point of view, as we said before, soft skills are important. So be prepared to show and to prove during your interview that you are capable to listen and understand something that could be far from you at the beginning. But these have to match with hard skills. So if you are, now I'm talking about operation, it doesn't matter if you are an engineer or if you have any other scientific graduation or whatever. The basket of operation, it's pretty big and large to host many different competences, but then prove the fact that you are capable to have an independent mindset, that you are capable to think in order to inject value, leveraging what you already know. And then be also open to accept the fact that there's a continuous improvement in the company. So you will proceed in building your competences during your journey. And this is an attitude that I kindly suggest to show since the beginning.
And I think that works not only for operations, right? Like
it works everywhere in life, but for sure in Ferrero it works a lot because the variety of the verticalization of the company is very huge, but is also, to me, super important to be capable to be horizontal and understand and see the diamond on different faces.
I think that's going to be useful for a lot of people. What do you think, Canopia?
I think from my perspective, the two skills which are most important is, number one, to have curiosity, the curiosity to learn, and the right intent. You need to be joining to stay. You need to be invested to make a career in Ferrero, because if you're invested, Ferrero invests in you, right? And if you're curious, Ferrero will teach you so much. While I work in CSU, in Consumer and Shopper Understanding, I have had exposure to so many different functions. I know enough of finance, I know supply chain, I know, different aspects of marketing, HR, and that is what Ferrero does to you. I've had the chance to pursue my international MBA from Ferrero. So it is because the intent was right and there was curiosity. And then the skills, the hard skills, Ferrero gives it to you, right? So that should be there. And then it's a partnership. And that's a partnership that makes you a Ferrarian. And that's my perspective.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Canopria and Giovanni. I'm sure like all of your tips are going to be useful for many people that are watching us at home. But stay with us, because in a moment, we're going to talk about recruitment. For many people, this is probably the scariest part of starting a career, right? When you send your CV and then you wait, you wonder if anyone has read your resume, if AI rejected your resume, if you answered the questions right at a job interview. But a lot of this anxiety also comes from not knowing what's going on behind the scenes, right? For example, what role does AI really play in recruitment nowadays? Which is why in a moment you're gonna get the opportunity to ask your questions to real Ferrero recruiters. And before that, let's just watch a short video from our Recruitment Unwrapped series.
You might have heard a lot of things about how recruiters use AI to screen applications or resumes. But here's how things actually work behind the scenes for a recruiter.
Let's talk about something that's never easy: rejection. When you're not selected, it's rarely because you weren't good enough.
After the first screening, you will move into interviews or sometime an assessment center. Whatever the format, we are always looking for evidence in 4 key areas.
This is not an exam. It's a two-way conversation to understand whether the role could work for you and for us. If there is a potential match, we move on to the next step.
Well, welcome, Irena and Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And before we get started, I also want to say this. If you've ever felt nervous about these topics like resumes, interviews, you're not the only one. So we're going to try and make this session as useful and honest as possible for you. Right?
Of course.
Sure.
Let's start with a question. Many candidates imagine that recruiters are looking for the perfect candidate. But in reality, what are you looking for in an early career candidate? Do you want to start, Irena?
Sure. So, okay, maybe I will divide this question into 2 parts. So from the candidate perspective, there is no right timing to apply, just apply. So that would be my first advice in that situation. From the recruiter perspective, of course, especially at the beginning of your career, what we are looking for is the right motivation for the opportunity for an internship or a junior role position. So the motivation, the right attitude, so curiosity, preparation for an interview, engagement, and of course some evidence as well, like if it's about some university project, volunteering, some exchanges, so some evidence of your engagement and motivation, and also maybe of the path that you would like to take for the next 3-5 years. It also would be beneficial, let's say, to communicate from early on.
It's just a small list. Just a few things.
She just gave you the checklist.
Yeah,
That's perfect. That's very useful. That's very useful. Anything to add?
I think there's no. I don't think we look for the perfect candidate. I think this is something that's really important for people to understand. Because what we're looking for is the perfect match, and it's our job to balance the candidate with the job. The perfect match is what we try to do as recruiters. So just because someone's really motivated for a job or has perfect skills even, if they are missing something else in there, it means the job won't fit them, and that means they're not happy, and of course the company's not happy. So I think that's just what I would kind of add, is that we're not looking for perfect candidates, we're looking for really good matches.
Great. And as Irena said, like maybe even if it's not like 100%, right? Apply.
Definitely.
Because, but we have questions coming in from the audience, so I would say let's just jump into that, right?
Okay.
The first question is from Eduardo. What makes the difference to be a successful candidate when applying, especially early in your career? So is there something, apart from what you just mentioned, Irena, that really makes a difference when you apply? For example, in your resume, I would say, or cover letter. What do you think, Michael?
My turn to go first. So it's a really good question. I think hopefully Eduardo learned something from what Irena said, because I think those things apply to your application. I think the classic advice is definitely true, which is like tailor your application. Focus on specific jobs that you want to be considered for. I think a mistake that some people can make, which I definitely made when I was starting my career, is kind of applying to things that kind of catch your interest, or maybe you don't know too much about, but it sounds interesting. This is a surefire way to miss the mark, most of the time at least. So I think, if you want to be successful, take the time to really focus on what it is you're applying to, and tailor your application, focus your application on that.
Right, because as you mentioned earlier, it's all about like finding the right match, right? Between the opportunity and the person. There's another question, which it's also on the same kind of topic, I would say. Thank you, Francesco. What is the first thing that catches your attention when looking at a CV? Irena.
I would say structure, and structure, how it is written. yeah, I would say, as I said, we receive hundreds of CVs every day, so how it is written, the structure, the keywords, yeah, I think this is the first thing that I would say captures attention.
So if a resume is like well structured,
very well written, yes, as I said, written, and yeah, I would say if we really talk about the first thing that captures attention, that I would say would be the first one.
Yeah, a clear layout, something that we can quickly read. A lot of people think that our job is to reject people, but it's not. Our job is to find reasons to hire someone. We're looking for a reason to call this person and to put this person forward for the job. That's what we like. You know, that's what we want to do. So I think if I'm opening a CV for the first time, it depends on the job I'm hiring for, because I'm all about that match, right? Like I said, but the first thing I'm looking for is, has this person got some kind of evidence that they're likely to have the skills I'm looking for, because we always want the hard skills, right? So if it's a job in accounting or finance, have they ever worked in a financial environment? That's, you know, the first thing I'm looking for. If they haven't, unfortunately, it's unlikely that we're going to progress them. Unless it's for a really entry-level role where there's no experience required, okay, then we're looking for something else. We're looking for evidence of attitude, evidence of you know, researching that area, being genuinely interested in that area, maybe studying in that area. But it's really, yeah, it jumps out at you. If the CV is well written and well structured, we know what we're looking for, and we try to find it, you know.
Yeah. And make it easier for them, I would say. I think it helps you if you make it easier for recruiters to identify this match. We have another question. It's Gizem would like to know, what is one skill that candidates often underestimate, but it makes a huge difference in getting hired and growing at Ferrero? What a nice question, Gizem. Who would like to start?
Okay.
One skill is a tough one.
I wouldn't say underestimate, but for sure the importance of the communication skills and engagement during the process, taking your time to understand better the position, being genuinely interested in the interview, asking questions. I mean, again, this is not one skill, but yeah, maybe overall communication skills and engagement. If I may add one more, I would say so, yeah.
Thank you for giving me a chance to think, because it's a really tough question. I think what candidates sometimes underestimate is the importance to have the skills the job is looking for. Mm-hmm. And that's really hard, right? We find it hard, and we're looking for those skills, and we do this all day, every day. I think that for candidates, you almost have to switch your mind into, if I was hiring for this job, what would I want to see on the page, right? And very importantly, if you have that, make sure it's on the page. We don't want to add things that we don't know and, you know, make things up. But if you have those skills and you can switch into that mindset, make sure that's prominent, make sure that's what's there. And I think that's something that people underestimate or misunderstand. They think that we're there to be detectives. And sure, we try, but if you highlight things really well, it makes things smoother. I think that's, yeah, really important.
I'm going to add one question, which is, how do we show this evidence if we don't have much experience? How do we show that we actually have the skills for the role? What's one way to do that?
I think if you're just starting out in your career, you have to go and get the skills. You have to go and get the evidence for us, right? And there are opportunities to do that. And I think that kind of self-starting, like proactivity, it's hard to say, it's hard to hear, but that's what opens the first little steps, you know, into an internship or something where you can begin to build those skills in a formal employment environment, right? So, you know, volunteering or doing something that is, yeah, might feel like a side gig or something like that, but actually, if you pay attention to what you choose to do and how you spend your time, you can build the skills that will just get you that first foot through the door.
Thank you for that. But now I'd like to ask you another question that came in from our audience. So Ilke would like to know what makes Ferrero an attractive company for someone seeking a challenging career opportunity. That's also a very tough question, but well done. This is the opportunity to ask these kind of questions, right? You never get the opportunity. So what do you think makes Ferrero an attractive company for someone who is looking for a career challenge? Who wants to start?
Yeah, I can start.
Go on then.
Yes.
Go on then.
I would start first with an international context of the job, because the first thing that you have to be ready for is to be exposed to different stakeholders, different kind of projects, and also people from different backgrounds and countries and cultures. So all in all, the first aspect would be this one for sure. And then another layer is the complexity, of course, because Ferrero is growing, and with that comes also the aspect that you always have to keep in mind, that what if, I don't know, if we are, the process changes, or there is something that you have to keep in mind, some things that it could be adjusted later on. So being flexible as well, also important. Yeah, I would say. Maybe do you have anything to add to this?
I would say that Ferrero is quite a lean company, so we all have plenty to do, and I think that if you want the challenge to be bigger, if that's what you're interested in, it's there. There's more things you can do. One of our values is entrepreneurial spirit. So I think, in my time at Ferrero, if I put my hand up for something, most of the time, if you really want to be involved in a project or an initiative or something, people are happy to have the extra help on board, and that is what builds the challenge. I think also we are, I think we're really strong at giving people chances to try things or to be involved in something, and at least that's my experience. The challenge is as big as you want it to be.
We can also ask, later we're also going to meet other Ferrero professionals, so we can also ask them about what was their experience.
It's a great question,
right?
Yeah, definitely.
So we have one question from Sara. What's one thing interns should do if they want to stay long term? And I would say not only at Ferrero, in general, if someone is doing an internship, but their objective is then to get hired, to stay long term, do you have any advice for them? Michael, you want to get started?
Sure, okay. We had a similar question this morning, but I think my answer was really relevant, so I'm going to kind of give a similar version of that answer, but so I hope it helps you, Sarah. I think that as an intern, you're just starting out in your career, so what's really important for a company thinking about keeping you longer term is your ability to learn and to apply what you have learned. So the thing you can do to kind of secure that longer time. Some of it's luck if the right position is open and so on, but the thing on top of that is showing you can learn things and you can apply that learning in your internship, and obviously after that, if you get a longer term position, you can apply it there as well. Any other advice, Irena?
I would say, I also mentioned it in the morning session, but is proactiveness by asking questions, the right smart questions. Yes, being open, really open and curious about everything. So this is something that in general, it's a good skill for your future career, but especially at the beginning, this is something that you have to keep in mind.
We have another question from Romina. Romina is asking, for candidates looking to move into a new industry, what should they keep in mind when considering a career at Ferrero? So if someone wants to work at Ferrero, but they come from a different industry, is there anything they should keep in mind?
Be resilient and manage your expectations, honestly, because moving between industries is absolutely possible. I've done it myself, right? So you can move from one industry to another. It depends on what your job is, right? So if you have a very industry-specific job, then it might be a bit more difficult, but not impossible. So I think the key thing is like be resilient, accept the fact that you have a slight disadvantage versus someone who, if we have an applicant who has that industry experience, okay, they have a slight advantage at the beginning of the process. But you may have other qualities that really lend themselves well and that mean that we want to take you forward. So be resilient, but also don't give up. You can try, and it can happen. It definitely can happen. I'm part of the proof.
Yes, and if I might add here is that in that case you have to be also you have to focus on the transferable skills and to put those evidence in your CV. Yeah. This is extremely important when changing the industries.
Which leads back to tailoring your application as well, right? So if you take the time to think about, okay, this is in a different industry, but here's my skill set, here's the skill set the job is looking for, make your application kind of really clear about that, and then it's a little bit of luck, unfortunately, because we're very fortunate as recruiters that we do receive great applications, and we're always balancing up the best possible match for who to bring forward.
Speaking of this, we have a very interesting question coming in from Mariana. Have you ever underestimated a candidate based on their CV and later changed your mind?
Gosh.
That's a very good question.
Yeah, is it, right? Or maybe what happened is that maybe you invited someone at a job interview and maybe you didn't really think they were the top candidate, but then they somehow left a great impression. Can it happen, really? Or can someone like apply like after some time maybe again?
I'm going to give a bit of a politician's answer by avoiding the question a little bit, but I am going to answer it at the same time, because the point is that our picture or perception of a candidate changes throughout the process because we're getting to know you better, we're getting to know you more. So naturally, it's normal that what we thought perhaps in the first conversation could evolve and change as we move through the process, right? That's how, when we get to the end of the process, we've got to know you as best as we possibly can, as well as probably some other people that we think could be a good match. And our job with the hiring manager and the other stakeholders is to say, okay, but who's really the strongest one and why, right? Let's use objective, evidence-based decision-making. We're thinking about what you had to say, thinking about what you've done in the past and how that applies. So have I ever underestimated someone? I guess yes, but that's only because I can only know them so well from the first conversation. So my estimations only ever grow typically when we bring people through the process.
But also you know that, right? Like you know that, especially at the beginning, like the resume does not give like the whole picture.
Of course,
so.
yeah.
And maybe from my point of view, I've seen the candidates that are a bit shy at the beginning. So sometimes it takes some time and effort for them to not to be too arrogant, but really to give some evidence, yes, of the experience and so on, but sometimes they are too shy. So, and as a recruiter, it's also our job to identify those candidates and really by asking the right questions to open up a bit and really understand what kind of achievements, personality they have. And this is also part of the job that we have to keep in mind.
Our job isn't to trick people into missing out on the job. Our job is to detect potential and talent, right? We're not there to like ask questions that are too tough and make someone stumble. That's not our job at all. Our job is to spot those little gold dust that make us think this person's going to do a great job and they're going to be really happy in this job. So I think that's maybe a bit of a misconception, you know.
Exactly.
We're not there to catch you out. We're not trying to catch you being a bad candidate. Our job is to spot all the things about you that make you fantastic as a candidate and help explain that to our stakeholders as well. You know, we're kind of advocating for people to say, okay, yeah, maybe they were a bit quiet in the interview, but they said this, and this is really relevant to what you're looking for, you know? So sometimes we're the kind of the champion as well of the person.
Yeah. Thank you. That's like also great, to have a different perspective on what maybe we expect recruiters to do, and then what actually the job entails. One last question from the audience. Kyla, what does the recruiter look for when you don't have manufacturing or distribution experience? I guess this is like more for specific roles in manufacturing or distribution. So if you don't have that experience, what do you look for?
We don't look for experience. This is a very interesting misconception. We're not looking for experience, we're looking for skill. So in fact, we're looking for 4 things. We're looking for skills, so your ability to do something, right? Hard skills, it's sometimes called. We're looking for what we call the core competencies of Ferrero, which are 6 kind of behaviors or ways of working, soft skills maybe you might call them. We look for that, and we look for your achievements, because your achievements tell us if you can handle the job. Right, so that's what we're looking for, and the last thing we're looking for is your motivation. So if you don't have experience in something, well, it depends what the job demands. But if the job demands skill at something, and you don't have it, that job's not a good match for you. That's just reality. And again, if we said, okay, but hire them anyway, it's not going to work out well for anyone. So that's why we don't do it. And I think that's the really important thing. I hope for Kayla that was a good answer, but it's a real answer. It's an honest one. We're not here to spot the CV's missing experience. That's not our job. Our job is to find the skill and the ability of people. You can make it easier by making it clear what you can do in your application and when you come and you have your interview and so on. But yeah, for me, I think experience is not the thing that gets you a job, unfortunately. It's your ability to do that job.
And anything else you would like to add?
No, I think I fully agree.
Just maybe one last advice, for job interviews, especially for people maybe going in for their very first job interview. From your experience also as a recruiter, do you have any practical advice you'd like to share?
Okay.
Briefly.
Yeah, briefly. I promise. No, really. I mean, from my side, the preparation for sure. So the preparation, and think about what genuinely interests you in this job. What motivates you in the position? What keeps you motivated? What do you genuinely like about this opportunity? And yeah, that would be all from my side.
But I think this was very insightful. I hope you took notes, because I think this is going to help a lot of people. So thank you so much once again for being with us.
No problem, thank you.
And before meeting our next guest, I would like to connect a little bit with let's take a quick look behind the scenes. So let's see what's going on behind the scenes. This is the real production control room. So as you can see, these are the people that are making this possible. They're making it possible for us to be streaming globally on different platforms. And we're also reading all of your comments and questions live. So yes, this is all real. And we are actually live streaming. So keep sending in your questions, because in a minute, you're gonna have the chance to ask them to our next 2 guests. And for the final part of the event, the guests we're gonna meet actually joined Ferrero at the beginning of their career. So we talked about how recruitment works, and now we get to see what happens after you start, after you get that first opportunity. Let's get to know our next guest.
Introduce yourself in 1 sentence.
Hello, my name is Ray. I'm the overhead controller responsible for legal function.
So my name is Darian Matovic. I joined Ferrero 2 years ago and I'm part of the category planning team.
What did you study?
So I studied supply chain since the beginning. I did my bachelor in France and then I went to HEC Montreal in Canada to also pursue my master's in supply chain.
Finance.
Are you more creative or analytical?
For sure, more analytical.
I would say more analytical.
How long have you been working at Ferrero?
So I joined Ferrero 2 years ago as a category planning specialist.
Almost 2.5 years.
What's one thing you can do now that you couldn't do when you started working?
I would say now I'm more open to communicate with any new colleagues, and I'm ready to share any knowledge or answer any questions they may ask to me. But in the beginning of my internship, I was more introverted, and also my knowledge was not enough for me to answer any kind of questions.
Taking ownerships of the topics and presenting them to different stakeholders, thanks to the confidence that I gained through the last 2 years.
What motivates you most at work?
At Ferrero, what really motivates me is the space that I have to do projects inside the company, kind of intrapreneurship, and it's really fun on a daily basis.
I would say the new skills, the new knowledge I learned from my colleagues and also the Ferrara University.
What's your top advice for interns?
Always be curious for new skills and new knowledge, and always be patient for any opportunity.
Don't be shy. Go speak to people you want to speak to. They will appreciate it.
Welcome, Rui. Welcome, Darian. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. I'm
Thanks
happy
a lot.
to be here.
Awesome. So the first question I would like to ask you is, when you started your professional path, what did you think working life would be like, and what turned out to be different? You want to start, Rui?
Yes, maybe I can start. So in the beginning, I thought I would stay in one position for a longer time to gain more experience. But later, I had other opportunities to try different roles, which gave me exposure to different opportunities. So, and also I can learn more skills and knowledge, so I really appreciate this.
Awesome. What about you, Darian?
At the beginning, I thought work is kind of a place you go for 40 hours a week, then you come back and you go back to your personal life. Actually, what I learned along the way is that you can develop your skills, your personal skills, communication skills within, let's say, the work environment and contribute also to your personal life. So let's not split, let's say, personal and professional as an individual, but take what you have to take, let's say, because it's a big playground in the end, and you have a lot of things to do to improve yourself as a human in general.
Thank you. Those are already great advice. So thank you so much. I think we started really well. But I have another question. So for Rui, I wanted to ask you, what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who is starting their first professional experience?
I would say be more proactive. Based on my experience, I'm a little bit shy at the beginning of my internship. So I would suggest them be more open to your colleagues and ask more questions if you really don't know something. Don't be shy, be brave, and you really can make a very good job. Trust yourself.
That's beautiful. Trust yourself,
Trust
be proactive.
yourself, yes.
And Darian, instead I wanted to ask you if you have any advice for people preparing for maybe their first job interview.
On this one, I would say really try to do as much research as you can upfront, because this then will help you during the interview, and also try to look for these values. That's kind of a blur thing when we are doing, let's say, our research, but in the end, the company is really focusing on it and is looking to have the right match to their values, to the different skills that they are presenting on their sites. So in the end, you almost have all the information you need. You just need to consider this information in order to perform during the interview.
Fantastic. We have many questions that are coming in from the audience, so let's read them, all right? Amelia, first of all, this is a beautiful question. Amelia, I'm sure it's going to help many people, would like to know, how do you deal with not knowing everything when you start? So when you maybe just graduate, start with your first internship or job, but you don't really know anything? Maybe I would add, not only when you start, sometimes you still don't know things when you get into a new role, right? But what would you say? How do you deal with it? Rui?
As I answered before, so be more open to ask questions. As the colleagues around you, they may already stay in this team for a longer time, so they know more things than you. So you can always ask questions when they are available. And also sometimes we have the internal learning platform. So you can also search which skills is exactly for your position. So you can have more things, different ways to have new knowledge. And also I would say maybe the knowledge at the beginning is not enough for you to support this position, but maybe on the other side, you can develop your communication skills to build a relationship
between your stakeholders, as you need to work with them every day. So before starting officially for the jobs, build a good relationship with them so you can maybe develop, to do your jobs in an easier way.
That's very good advice, right? No one explains that, how important it can be to work also on like communicating and building relationships with your colleagues and with your stakeholders, just to get things done also, right? So, Darian, we have another question coming in, and it's from Andre, I think. I think it's pronounced Andre. In your view, what makes Ferrero's culture unique? What type of person, I would say what kind of skills, tends to thrive within the organization, from your experience?
Yeah, from my personal experience, one point that is really for me striking in Ferrero compared to other companies, is the level of, let's say, autonomy we have on the different projects. So you're kind of doing entrepreneurship, for example, on some topics, and you have your daily job, you have your kind of routine, but Ferrero kind of give you the space to be able to develop yourself in the direction that you want, basically. So sometimes I go to my manager, let's try to do this project, what do you think? And we go in a certain way, which helped me to develop on top of the skills that I already have. So I think having that kind of entrepreneurship value is what will help you thrive and also get you to meet different people along the way.
That's also like super useful, and I'd like to ask also this question to you, Darian. It's a question from Marco. I'm currently doing an internship. Do you have any tips to stand out?
I would say try to be as knowledgeable as you can on your skills. You have about 6 months in an internship, so that's a huge period of time for you to, let's say, learn. You have your job, you can also do your research on top and bring some novelty into the job, because you're in a student phase. Some people that are working with you are no more students. They're not, let's say, in that curiosity on an everyday basis. Go do your research, see some papers, see what you can bring kind of as a new view to the company in order to make you stand out and say, okay, this person is really actually trying to make things better.
Oh, this is really, really valuable advice, right? Because even if you don't have much experience, maybe you can bring it value even just by bringing that new perspective, right? Or new knowledge. So really, we're taking notes, right? Marco, we're taking notes. A question for you, Rui. Daniel would like to know what part of your job would surprise people the most? Something they would not expect.
I would say, just based on my experience, at the beginning, my manager said this girl is a little bit shy. It is okay for her to communicate independently with the stakeholders. And during several months later, we had the feedback meeting. He told me, you really did a wonderful job. You can really communicate with your stakeholders independently, even without me in this meeting room. So he said, it's really amazing thing. So I would also say communication skills is really important in our daily life, because we work not alone, we work with different people, and how to communicate with them in a very effective way or efficient way, and which is really helpful to continue our job with them.
That's something that many people might underestimate, right? Once you have your skills, you do not maybe consider how relevant communication can be, for example. Well, we have another very interesting question. I might say these are amazing questions. Keep sending them in. What would you tell someone who is scared of applying because they don't feel ready? Darian, what would you tell someone?
So that's really interesting, because we all were in this kind of position, and there's a saying, they say it professionally, when they say don't jump, that's when you jump, basically. But it's also, if you want to have it from a pragmatical perspective, what I would say is that first have a list of, let's say, applications you have. Try to apply, let's say, in a certain way to the applications you might not want to get at first, in order to prepare for that opportunity that you want. So that would be my advice, to make you feel ready. Do a lot of interviews, do some case studies, let's say, go through that process. It might take some time, it's fine, it was for all of us. And in the end, you will reach a point where you say, okay, now I feel I'm ready, and I will really have something to say to the interviewer and for the full process.
And what about this question, Rui? Ahmed would like to know, what is something that you know now that you wish you knew earlier? Maybe something we haven't talked about.
I would say trust yourself, be more confident, because recently I had a conversation with my team colleague and she said it's good to be humble as we still need to know more skills, new knowledge. But if you think you are ready, if you really do a good job and you always receive the positive feedback, be more confident. Trust yourself. So you will also show your confidence to your stakeholders. So they will also trust you. So this is a very, very important thing, I hope. I mean, in the beginning, if I can also show my confidence to more people, then people will trust me a lot. So it's really a good relationship building. So yes.
That's great advice. I'm sure a lot of people are gonna relate to that, right? Because at the beginning, as you said, you have to stay humble, but at the same time, really learn how to trust yourself and your decisions. So, great, thank you, Rui. One last question. I'm gonna ask this to both of you. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, like your 20-year-old self, what would it be? Darian?
I think the most important is to be confident, take the risk that you think might be too risky on the paper, that might not, let's say, be the best thing to do at this moment, but you have to do something. So pick something, do it, see what can happen, learn from it, and then go on the next step. But always be in that kind of moving perspective along the journey.
What would the answer to Maria?
Yes, I really agree with Dalian because at the beginning you may be afraid of making any mistakes, so you will be very scared of this part, but don't worry about that. So you can learn it from your mistakes. And also for myself, I focus more on the technical skills in the beginning. I may not develop a lot of my communication skills, like the people relationship with my stakeholders. So if go back to that time, I would tell myself not only focus more about your technical skills, but also to talk to more people. You may also receive some very useful feedback from them, and also maybe build a very good relationship. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. I think this was very useful, and I'm sure people at home appreciated really receiving your advice and learning from your experiences. So thank you so much, Rui and Darian.
Thank you.
Thanks to you and all the viewers.
Yeah.
And well, unfortunately, this is the end of this event. So what an hour, right? Ferrero Career Bites Live is coming to an end, and we really want to thank all of our guests who came in today, and of course all of you who watched us live, who sent in your questions. And before we go, I would like to ask you one last thing. Can you please type in the chat one keyword or one sentence to describe what is going to be your key takeaway from today's session? So if you could say in one sentence or one word, what is your key takeaway from today? What would it be? And if there's one thing that I really hope you can take away from this event, it's this. You don't need to have everything figured out to get started. You can have questions, you can have doubts, and you can still apply for that job, learn, grow, build your own path one step at a time. This event is part of Ferrero Career Bites, which is an initiative that Ferrero designed to support people early in their career. And on ferrero.com/careerbites, you can find more videos, resources, downloadable resources, and opportunities to really support you at the beginning of your career. Also, remember to follow Ferrero on social media. And by the way, did you know that Ferrero Career Bites is also on TikTok? So make sure you follow us and you can leave your questions in the comments. That's all for today. Thank you so much, and I wish you good luck with your career journey. I'll see you next time. Ciao.